Hello. Yesterday I made an estimate of how much a well-optimized solar farm could generate. And today I've actually put it in, so now we don't have to estimate. So this is the one we started with. I've filled in all around the perimeter here to get our total of 128 solar wind hybrids. We can't have any more of any kind. Solar panels, wind turbines, or solar wind hybrids. We have 128 of them all that you can use in total. And I've done that. So you'll notice that we have a nice bank balance here and a nice income. It is 6 p.m. So you'll see that this holds true at midnight. And our exports, power export here, 125,467. Now, of course, it costs quite a bit to put in, but the payback period on that kind of money is what, less than a week? 6 days maybe? I think it takes about 750,000 in total to implement all 128. So getting back 125,000 a day, then that's a fairly easy sum, isn't it? 4 days would be 500,000. So 6 days would be 750. And we're just about to see if that holds true today at midnight. And we can't see it because it's put a notification over the top. You can just see it, 125,850, 458. 458. Okay. I've also started adding in some reform rooms to try and get the reform rate grant done. Now this one's getting closer, 93%. It's taken a while. So I've put a parole room back in. Notice that I put it near the sniper tower with a barred wall so the sniper can see in what's going on. Here's the psychologist's office for behavioural. Again, the sniper can see in there and they can see in the meeting room. And this one down here can see into the classroom. So running courses, but realistically, they're not really going to be able to pass them because of the high suppression Supermax generates. What you'd really need to do is try and get them down into maximum security and run the courses down there. To get them to drop down a tier, they have to pass something. They have to engage in work, or they have to pass a course. They have to do something in order to move down. Good behaviour as well will help. Oh, oh dear. Someone's dead. They stepped on top of each other. Can't see who the other one is. It's not letting me tab. There we go. Oh, there we are. It's a guard. So we lost a guard there and a prisoner at the same time. Very unfortunate. I've not been able to get the violence under control quite. I think there's less, but it's still quite high because it's Supermax. Now, having cell blocks like this isn't really a good idea in Supermax, but we've seen how it's a little bit temperamental. It can tip over quite easily to flashpoint. Oh, there we go again. Who's died this time? This person, Scott Cowell, actually surrendered, look. So the armed guard was fed up and shot him anyway. That happens in this game if the staff aren't happy. Well, there's not a lot we can do about that. Now, the maximum security block over here didn't exist. I've redone this. It was an ordinary Supermax block like all the others, but I noticed that there were death row inmates who were getting their sentence commuted, but they were just starving in their cells because they had nowhere to go. There was no maximum security cells in the design. So I reduced the prison population and then converted this over to maximum security so that they'd have somewhere to go. Oh dear. Yes, it's quite lively, this episode, isn't it? Here's one of them now. So this is a former death row prisoner who's had the sentence commuted. If I can just click on them, we can see 84 years. They're going to be here a little while. They have an unknown experience. Their estimated reoffending chance is still 52. That's quite high. they actually have half of their customer service experience already, which means they're halfway to be able to work in the bakery or the other retail operation, restaurant, cafe, whichever one it is. So that's all very good. So let's go back to the power. You see, I've had to get a bit messy here. So in summary, with the ecologist as the warden, I'm using modules of 7 solar wind hybrids connected to a transformer with 7 batteries, and then that has a power export meter connected to that transformer. And there are multiple modules that are identical around the perimeter of the prison to use up all 128. The last module is over here, was the last 2. So there's 126 plus 2. That's how it works. And I'll just use all 128. And that gives us a power export of 125,470. So there's no guessing there. We know exactly what we're getting. We're on 1% tax here because Stuff Plus invested in both of those researches. There are 2 that you need to do sequentially: tax relief and offshore tax haven. And that one gets you down to 15%. That one gets you down to 1%. And that's on your net, on your bottom line. So that tax is on this line, not on the income column on its own. So our net is 113. 1% of 113 is actually rounding up to the nearest 50. So it's 1150. So if you round that up to be 1140, but it's rounded up to the nearest 50. So fair enough. It's still pretty good. So there you go. That's it, fully done now, fully optimized as far as I know how. Strictly speaking, you can get more use out of the batteries, but it doesn't give you anything extra. I think we were on something like 66% by the end of the day, somewhere around there. And you can adjust it so you get the most out of that last battery, but it doesn't do anything. You're not going to get any more income from it. So this is quite sufficient. You'd actually have to spend more on transformers and power meters if you try to get the batteries optimized to be mostly full. So there's no point. This works just fine. This is optimized to the daytime production rate being below the transformer's maximum capacity for generation of 5,000 units. So there we go. That summarizes everything I've done over the last 2 days to the Inescapable Prison so far. And I'm still working on it to see if I can get a reform rate going. But I don't think I can without, as I said, changing over to having a new, entirely separate wing for maximum security and getting these guys to move down tiers. No, I do have a block, but they've got no, there it is. They've got no reason to move to it. Oh, one more thing. Privacy was a very high need. The glass walls looked great in the series, but the privacy need just never came down. It was causing all sorts of violence in an already violent. So to control that need, to get that one under control, I just put brick walls back in around the cells so they could get some privacy while they were sleeping. If you look at needs now, okay, so they'll use the toilet when they wake up in half an hour. They've just about filled the sleep need. It says it's still quite high. I don't know why. Hygiene, they'll have a shower in a minute. The family's quite a critical need, but they do have access to those cool booths and luxuries we can't do much about without putting a shop in. So we can't retrofit that into this prison without some significant rework. And I'm not in the mood for that. I don't think I'll be doing that, no. Can you imagine trying to build a shop into every single block, all 6 of them? Well, there's 5 now, but that'd take quite a bit of work. One thing I did notice, there's no use of the cage room here. The cage is useful for prisoners who are in permanent lockdown or solitary. I think it's permanent. It could be just general permanent and solitary, so that if there is a yard time in the schedule, but they're in permanent lockdown or solitary, they're taken to exercise in the cage, and there is no facility for that. So that could be an improvement. Adding room to put the cage in the yard, which needs to be. I think there's a wall specifically for it. Fence wall. No, maybe not. So I would guess it's these three that apply. And does it have... There's the cage fence. There it is. That's the one. And it has its own door as well. Where are you? Cage gate. So you construct a cage with those two materials. And then you go to rooms and you find the cage here. There it is. Oh, there is one somewhere. Oh, no, I built it. That's right. I've got one. I did it slightly differently as well. It got used once up to now that I've noticed. So I did a test of it here with barred wall. And put the solitary door in there. There's a feeding slot there so they can get fed in there. And that was for a prisoner who was causing an awful lot of trouble. This cell got adapted. I put barred wall on here, put a sniper on, no, that's an armed guard there, just to get them under control. They were being shot every day. Then healed up, sent to solitary or lockdown, and it would just repeat and repeat and repeat. And eventually, I had to use the security menu and have them removed from the prison. So, if you want to remove a really difficult prisoner from the prison, you select them in the security menu. You find them, so you can use this to highlight them. They're all dangerous, so we're just on default. So use this to highlight them, select one, and then hit the remove prisoner. And it charges you a significant fee to stop you doing it all the time. And then you have a 5-day cooldown before you can use it again. So it's not something you can spam, but if there's one prisoner in particular who's causing trouble all the time and just murdering all your guards, you can just say, right, I can't deal with that particular prisoner. They're leaving the facility. They can go to something where they just spend a single cell isolation unit all the time in that, which isn't part of this design. So they can go off there and be someone else's problem. So that's what I did to get rid of them. And that cell is what's left of their legacy. So on permanent. Here we go again. What's going on? So over here somewhere. It was. Misconduct, destruction. Not too bad. So he didn't get knocked out at least. He got suppressed and he stopped. So it's calmed down a lot, which is good. They're still working on getting reform going. It's difficult to get Supermax reformed, like I said, when they're suppressed all the time. So that's a difficult challenge. It's also difficult to do it when it's supposed to be an inescapable prison. So I've let them over here onto this boundary. They can't swim out, so that's not going to be an issue. Not especially when it's surrounded with all these sniper towers. So I don't think that's going to cause an issue. Did manage to process the parole queue again after Stuff Plus ended it in the series. It was just building up. So fine, let's put it back in and start processing them. Start get these courses running and see if anybody will take up on them. The other thing I could do is add in prison labour. They'll not be very happy, but they choose the room with the least dangerous contraband is probably the best bet there that they can work in. So that's an option. And you could use that to get them down to maximum security. Right. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.